eye-opening vistas of space promise high costs as well as high reward. We set sail on this new sea because there is new knowledge to be gained. The exploration of space is one of the great adventures of all time. And we mean to be a part of it. We mean to lead it.
Welcome back. I don't remember where I was, 'cause it has been a bit of time. I believe that's right. We're just gonna go do that. Okay. I removed another mod to see if that helps with future issues. Don't know if it will or not. Doesn't really matter.
Lifting off now. Stay in orbit or jump. Your call. Navigational feedback checks out. We're in the right place.
Can't skip the system with a fry. You guys can hit shit down. Enemies -1 grav drive.
Enemy's jump drive is offline.
It's grav
Hide
drive
there
down.
and targets shields
Way to
are
run.
down. We
Grav drive.
That grav drive.
Board is clear. We're docked.
And you're all in my way again. Get out of my way. Good lord, people.
Separation complete.
Tag
This
zone.
where gravity drives.
Shields down. They're dead in the water.
Seals are tight. We're docked.
For fuck's sake. Go elsewhere. About to assign you all to an outpost somewhere. Be careful, Andresia.
Clamps release. We're free.
They've lost grav jump capability. Their shield system is damaged.
They're dead in space.
You took out their jump drive.
Pressure normalized, and we're docked.
bit eager to use that, are you not?
I mean, it's either me or them. And it sure ain't gonna be me.
That's a clean break. Ready to go. Enemy shields are gone. Oh,
Better
you
jump.
jumping out.
Did ya?
Nice clean dock there.
You know, I think I might be going through my next playthroughs in this game with less crew. Handpicked, maybe not specifically optimized, more picked for their RP reasons, sort of, but I'm thinking no more than 2. Plus, plus any companion. They have Barrett's personal slate, number 3, on their ship because the designers put the Frontier specific hab in this ship design and didn't elect to remove Barrett's personal slate from this hab. God, like, Bethesda, you make it really hard for me to defend your games and not complain about things like that. Like, come on. 1, just don't put the Frontier specific hab on any ship except the Frontier. 2, if you're gonna, remove Barrett's personal slate. Jeebus.
always worth checking. Never know what you might find in their pockets.
I'm hoping I get all my complaints out of my system before I start the, let's call that the real playthroughs. This is my exploration and figure things out playthrough. Figure out what mods I want to use, figure out what mods I don't want to use. Figure out generally how I want to play through the game in the no way, even more. See what missions might be consistently bugged. How well or not well my immersion is going to be justified. Been watching a lot of NPC Man. On YouTube, and kind of coming to a realization that if I play this from the perspective of knowing it's a game, the meta of that might make the playthrough more enjoyable. But it would definitely be an almost fully comedic playthrough, you know. There would always be a comedic undertone if I took the design philosophy, as it were, of, oh, this is all a game. I'm a character in a video game world. I am protagonist person, of course, because I am protagonist person. But it would allow every non-immersive thing to be treated like this crap, to be treated in a way where you can pseudo justify it. I say pseudo because, well, it's still hard to justify bad design and writing and other things. But oh, and speaking of bad writing, there's a thing that this game does more egregiously than almost any other RPG I can recall, and that is providing the player with information in dialogue options that you shouldn't have access to. I discussed it earlier in another video when I was talking about
Captain.
the fact that
Enemy's grav drive disabled.
are we done? Anyway, I was discussing it earlier when I was saying that there's some dialogue options that you keep getting. For example, you keep getting dialogue options even though you've literally learned basically all there is to learn about things like List and the Crimson Fleet and Ecliptic, and yet you still get these constant dialogue options popping up because they're just, you know, they don't want you to have missed the option for learning information about it, or maybe you forgot or whatever, but it doesn't feel right. It's not the right word, but it feels weird when you ask about the Crimson Fleet for the 400th time and they basically give you the same basic information that you're always given about the Crimson Fleet, but because this particular NPC has information that they could give on the Crimson Fleet, they present the option. And that's one way that the dialogue options, I think, are not properly done. Like I said, they could easily tag all those options with some kind of a per save tag that says, as if you have heard about this particular subject matter, no other NPC will present this option to you to bring up. There's another one though that I started to notice, is when, and it's hard to say. So, did that just appear? What is that? What the hell? Anyway, so I noticed it specifically when I was going to talk to the ship services person. Well, technically she's not ship services, but she's the Hope Tech salesperson on Hopetown. There's a dialogue option in there that I suppose you could technically argue is available for anyone, but where it feels wrong to me is,
Captain, landing procedure initiated.
on an initial playthrough, one of the options she says is, or one of the options you, the player, are given, is to ask her what she thinks of Ron Hope. And there's no reason for you as a character, if you're just visiting Hopetown outside of a quest and you've never done anything related to Ron Hope, there's almost no it would be like somebody going to Amazon and asking the head of sales, what do you think of Jeff Bezos? Like, that's not why you're going to the head of sales. You're going to the head of sales to... In fact, she's not even the head of sales. She's literally just a salesperson. So it would be like going to a staff member at like your local grocery store and asking them what they think of the person that owns the company. Like, first of all, what do they care? They are just a person that works there. Second of all,
Every world with living things.
why are you
Such
asking
pleasure.
them? You're just, as far as life is concerned, you're just a random person that is walking through, and then, oh, hey, tell me all you can about the person that owns and runs this company. Until you have a quest line where that feels important, it feels a little out of place to even get that dialogue. By the same token, asking some random person about the Crimson Fleet, like, there's a bunch of people that you walk up to them and they have some sort of an encounter, whatever, that you're trying to resolve, or you're just randomly talking to them, because that's another problem that this game has, where it doesn't have a hook, but this person has a quest, so I'm going to randomly talk to them. And a question about Ecliptic comes up, or the Crimson Fleet, or whatever, and it doesn't even fit who they are, right? Like, why would they have any opinion on the Crimson Fleet other than, yeah, they're bad, I guess. Why are you asking me? I feel like those dialogue options just need to be refined. And it strikes me as potentially that because of the large scale this game has in terms of all the planets you can go to and all the quests you can take and stuff, that they didn't go through their dialogue options with a fine-tooth comb. You know, they went through it with a rough brush and they said, good enough. And ironically, this is not true either. You know, they went through it with the concept of, can the quest be completed? If yes, don't worry about anything else. We got the gist of the things. Whatever. We're moving on. And it's one of those things where, having watched 300 episodes of Epic NPC Man, it's like, if you love a game and you put hundreds of hours into it, and you start to see all those cracks form, or rather, not form, already exist, it's hard to defend the companies that don't look at their games after they've been out for over a year. Looking at you, Starfield. And say, oh, hey, we should probably start patching some of these cracks. Instead of doing some things that should have been in the default game, like certain graphics options that came 6 months after the game was out that should have been there from the very outset, like NVIDIA DLSS and some other options. Anyway, it just, like, there, for me, in a roleplay game, one of the most important aspects of the roleplay game is the roleplay. And dialogue is real important there. You know, I can take my companion being an idiot in terms of their AI and walking in front of my gun constantly. I can take NPCs standing on top of tables. I can take a lot of things, but when the dialogue itself, you know, and obviously the combat has to be good too. I think generally speaking, you just have to make the loot tables good, the combat good, and the dialogue good. If those three options are good, the rest of the game can be taken with a grain of salt. When those three items are less than stellar, you can see why a game starts to get mixed reviews. Now, I actually do like the combat in this game. I also use a controller, so, you know, take that with a grain of salt. And overall, I like the story. The actual specific dialogue and writing, but the generalities of the story I enjoy well enough. And then the loot tables, I use a trainer so that they're theoretically fixed, so, you know. Basically, the trainer just lets me access all the loot that is theoretically available on a body instead of just giving me the random 3 objects that the bodies are given from a pool of loot that is always on the bodies. It's still a pool. It's just it's a larger selection with the trainer on. I don't remember this mission. I thought I did, but I think I was thinking of something else. Oh, now I do, I think. Okay, hold on. We are probably not going in stealthy. I think I remember this one. I guess we'll find out, won't we?
Did they have anything of value?
Interestingly, the loot table fix that I use does not fix the loot of bodies that are already in existence. It's only the ones that you actually fight.
Leave it to humans to find inventive new ways to kill each other. At least they realize these mechs were a step too far.
I mean... everything is a step too far. We should be learning how not to kill each other. How to get past our differences. Unfortunately, that's just not in our nature. We are a species that we want others to conform with our ideas, but we don't want to conform with their ideas. And it leads to arguments, and it leads to conflict. Then there are petty things like fights over territory and fights over religion, and I can almost, and I say almost, justify a fight over love. But most of the time, that's a one-sided fight anyway. It's one person who loves another person, and they're fighting over that person, but does that person want to be fought over? A lot of the times, that's not the way it works either. And yet, we're in this supposed modern era, and we're still fighting over the same dumb bullshit that we've fought over since forever. Nothing's changed. We fight over stuff. We fight over invisible lines on a map. We fight over the ideas and beliefs of one person or another. We fight over the differences in people. And the irony is modern tech has really only made it easier to kill people while not being killed. But as long... I don't know that people really stop to consider that if...
Whoever laid claim to this place seems to be long gone.
If you fight a war where there is no loss of life or destruction of property...
Paxton Hull, commanding officer of the 1st. Marshal Blake must be getting desperate sending a lone deputy out here. But I'll give credit where it's justice. It's waiting for you inside.
Well, that's an obvious ambush. But yeah, we fight with drones, we fight with missiles, we fight with whatever. When loss of life and property is no longer a thing, and hilariously, the original series of Star Trek already dealt with how stupid war is via this storyline that deals with this issue. No loss of life means no end to war. Because that's the only thing that ends wars, is when one side is sick of losing the lives. That's it. You know, we like to think, oh well, it's treaties and people agreeing to. Yeah, the only reason they even attempt those treaties is because one side is losing too badly. Sometimes it's both sides, but it's all a matter of if one side or the other is losing too much life or property damage, then eventually they go to the, you know, they surrender, they go to the diplomatic table, they, you know. But when you get to a point...
I heard something.
Oh, somebody's using rockets.
Bring it.
You cannot let her stay gone. Ah, you're swinging.
Anyway, the point I was so trying to make before I was so rudely interrupted by gameplay is that, you know, something like mechs is going to work because it's killing people. But when it's all robots, which is weirdly the concept of using drones, unmanned combat vehicles, and robots as means of war is lost in the
Spoils of victory.
disconnect
Hopefully they amount to something.
where people think that, oh well, if we don't have any loss of life on our side, then war will be better. And no, it'll just be never ending. It'll be never ending to a point where, let's presume that we get to a point where we're fighting wars with each other and there are no men on the field, or women, or other. There is no biology. It's just a bunch of robots, and they're all being theoretically powered by somebody that's piloting them like a drone, right? Okay.
Better make your peace.
I'm going to end you.
But And the battlefields that they're fighting on in that future aren't going to be in urban environments or in areas where it matters. It's all going to be on open fields and wastelands where battle has been raging for so long that, oh, well, we have to fight the battle here because if we try to move forward, then they send waves at us, and if they try to move past us, then we send waves at them, so it all ends up being right here, and these are the, quote, strategic locations. But once it becomes no humans losing life and we can all just keep producing robots, it's just going to be fighting for not even a reason. And I guarantee you nobody's going to be smart enough to look at that and go, hey, wait, why are we even fighting? This seems stupid. Nothing's actually happening.
I'm a man of action. I've got no... So when I tell you that you're being manipulated, you know I'm telling the truth. You think the Council of Governors really cares about anything but themselves? They're greedy and corrupt. You're a tool in the hands of the unworthy, just like I once was. I was loyal. I followed orders, and I led good men and women to their deaths. I'll carry the stain of that dishonor to my grave.
You know, just because the propaganda is coming from one side or the other doesn't mean it's good on any side.
Do they even try?
Now, do I think anything's going to change when it comes to war because of anything? No. And do I think that the violence in ourselves can be resolved? That's a hard question. That might be an impossible question. I don't know. I mean, look at me right now. I'm enjoying playing a game that's 50% violence. Let's say 33% violence. 33% violence, 33% talking, whether you consider it good talk or bad talk, and another 33% of exploration. And looting. I actually consider exploration and looting to be kind of part of the same equation. I specifically consider looting to be part of exploration on a more finely, you know, like if you're breaking things down by what is this a part of, is this the sub part of the greater thing. I think looting is the sub-aspect of a sub-aspect of exploration. It's just exploring stuff. Well, babe, you literally walked right in front of my gun. I mean, literally. Directly in front of it.
If there was something out there, it's gone now.
No.
Take your best shot. I'm gonna end you. Ah, ears ringing. For the glory of the bird.
I suppose the difference between me and other people is that I love violence and war as long as it's in movies and video games. I can honestly say I do not like it in any other form, and I don't even like PvP, so...
You can't succeed at that before we are discovered.
Like, I don't like the feeling I get when... a fight is against another person. I love it when it's PvE, you know. But as soon as it's against another person, and doing things like this in real life, like paintballing or something of a similar nature, no, not my cup of tea. And for the record, I was in the Army for 6.5 years. I was lucky enough to not be in a war. I was what I like to call in between wars. I got in a little bit after Desert Storm and the whole Gulf War, and I got out months before 9/11 happened. Speaking of a never-ending war. The closest I got to any kind of combat-related situation was in Bosnia. And all we were doing was, quote, peacekeeping, end quote. Which basically just means sitting there and presenting a potential threat for people to not fight. For other people to not fight. Which, that didn't stop anything. It paused the fighting in that
Clever.
region.
Use the environment to aid their manufacturing. War is always an excellent driver of ingenuity.
That's actually weirdly true. A lot of innovations come out of combat. I would also like to stress, I do not think people shouldn't defend themselves. But it would be nice if nobody had a need to defend themselves, you know? Like, it would be an amazing leap in human progress if we were able to come to the conclusion that fighting is as pointless as most arguments. Debate and the man, I can't think of the word, and I don't even know if I have it in my vocabulary, but dissemination
Winner
of
takes all is difference, is it not?
opinions are definitely something that we should always hold on to. The difference is we as a species need to know the difference between opinion and truth. There's very little truth in the world. Even the various truths of science can sometimes be proven to be inaccurate. And a new truth is formed. But is it truth or is it something else? But opinion, and man, people just don't understand what that is nowadays, it seems. Opinion is just opinion. Literally, everything I'm saying right now is opinion. You know, I can't back up anything that I'm saying with any kind of fact, so to speak. It's just my opinion that I think people could one day be better. And it's also my opinion that I don't think people will be better. I really don't, unfortunately. Robot friends! But if one day we were somehow able to...
It would be advisable to vacate this area.
Be able to argue without leading to conflict. That would be a step in the right direction. But I don't see it happening. I think that our species is always going to be fighting with each other over pretty much always the dumbest shit. The only theoretical plus side is that video games and movies that involve conflict and trauma will continue to be relevant. You know, like like the one says, war never changes. Which isn't entirely true, but it is, you know. Hey, no. Don't do that. Where are you? Stop that. Talking about the capability of humans to potentially be peaceful while blasting the shit out of virtual people and enjoying it is the general contradiction of humanity. Well, I know you're not dead. You know, I think I will actually attempt to play, really? I think I will actually attempt to play with a, NPC man style of self-aware and meta quality, because one of my playthroughs I plan to go through as generally being, quote, the bad guy. And I think for my own, not conscience, but I don't like playing the bad guy, generally speaking. I do quite frequently do bad things in games, but I don't usually play the, like, proper villain, you know, unless the game is like Grand Theft Auto or something, where my choices are play the villain or don't play the game. And I think playing on a meta level...
Take what you must. Leave the rest for the scavengers.
...would help with the psychology of it all. If it's all just a game, and then by the same token I can meta commentary on elements of that aspect of playing a bad person. I'm definitely not a good person in this playthrough. I'm real middle of the road. My, I kind of base my interactions on my mood in the moment and my concepts of... Like, okay, so there's a random space encounter, which I have encountered a lot of them lately, but I haven't really been randomly venturing around in space as much lately either. Anyway, there's a random space encounter where you encounter a school teacher and their whatever students, and in that mission, every time I encounter it, I'm always relatively nice, maybe a little sarcastic, but I'm never outright rude or like violent or anything. And in the properly violent playthrough, I plan to be properly violent to everyone. So, I don't know.
The 1st Cavalry was the greatest fighting force the Freestar Collective has ever seen. At the Battle of Nira, the 1st Cavalry was destroyed. Why? Because the generals got scared and asked for truce. I've got no sympathy for cowards, or for the people who put them in power. I've also got no sympathy for those who do their bidding. And this means you.
Yeah, but what if I said I had no sympathy for people that propagandize after they've lost a war in order to fight more? Because that's basically all you're doing. You want to fight more, so you're propagandizing to those that will listen in order to forward your own ideals, which is a very common theme. Now, I do actually have a major problem with an element of this game, and I think they did this as a means of not having to design something in a game that it would have been expected. And that is, I think that the Bethesda designers, when they were making this game, knew that mechs would be a thing that people expected them to put into a science fiction game. As such, especially a game with robots, because what are mechs if not big giant robots? As such, I think they designed this entire plot line and everything around it with the concept of, well, mechs are just outlawed, so that we don't ever have to design them into the game as a functioning element. Because realistically, not having mechs is two things. One, both sides would have had mechs. The idea that one side developed mechs and the other side didn't have them within a very short few years is ridiculous. No, there is no precedent in history for one side developing a technology and the other side not gaining access to it almost immediately. The more and ironically, it's even more unrealistic because they're trying to tell you that the Freestar Collective had mechs, which were very powerful, and they were the only ones with this technology, and yet they didn't win the war with it. And that's not how that works either. The one side that developed air superiority first dominated the battlefields of the wars where that was the thing, and air superiority won the day back in the day. The first people to develop nukes won the war with the nukes. Then everybody developed nukes, and now nobody wants to use nukes because everybody has nukes. And I think that every time this happens in a game, because this isn't the only game that has clearly designed a setting to remove an aspect of the setting in order to not have to play out that aspect of the setting.
Someone or something will clean up whatever's left behind.
Without getting into the issues around the particular game in question, you can have your opinions of it if you want. The Hogwarts game that came out quite a while ago now, I guess. Was it 2024? I don't even remember. But that game took out Quidditch. And the reason that they took Quidditch out was because the developers didn't want to develop Quidditch. They were, as many developers, overworked. There were also plans for a Quidditch specific game that came out later. And so, as a means of avoiding having to put Quidditch into the game, they just wrote it in that, oh, Quidditch has been canceled. Like, literally, that's the entire plot line. Oh, Quidditch has been canceled for the year. We're not doing Quidditch this year. Don't even ask. You know, it's literally, they make it a very big point in the game to tell you, the player, yeah, don't ask about Quidditch. We're not going to be playing Quidditch. And it's not something they ever plan to add as a DLC or anything either. It's just, we designed the game to be what it is. We're not adding this other element, despite the fact that most people that like that universe would have wanted to play Quidditch. Point to the game where Quidditch is available. It's a Quidditch-only game. So you can have your Quidditch game, or you can have your other game, and that's it. You know, and it's one of those things where it's like, I would rather they had not made mention of it. You know, similar to this game. Now, I think they did a serviceable method of giving us their balonium reason for why mechs are not available as something that you can utilize in this game, because they just didn't want to develop them as a usable object. And mechs are hard. I mean, you know, you're talking about a whole another set of controls and all sorts of other things. I get it. But it's one of those things where if you had never told me about it...
Sport. Not that killing for sport is a problem.
If you had just left it alone, you know? Just been like, oh, well, we're just not going to mention mechs at all. They just don't exist in this universe. Then I would have been like, oh, well, okay. Because I wouldn't be thinking about it. But instead, they made it a whole plot line's worth of, look at all these mechs you can't use. Oh, thanks. Similarly, in the Hogwarts game, it's an entire Quidditch pitch that you could never utilize. That they have other things that occur there, and it's like, well, you know, you could have just not had the Quidditch pitch. You could still have flying brooms and never bring up Quidditch, and it would have been fine. Now, I know there's probably plenty of people out there that would have been, well, I wouldn't have wanted it that way, and I understand, but sometimes I could do without. Now, If there's an alternate plan in place, which I don't think is the case in this game, or was, if they do it now. Oh, and it definitely wasn't the case in the Hogwarts game, and usually isn't the case where they leave something out. Like in Fallout, they leave out cars in almost every game, and their explanation is that all the cars are dead and, you know, blah blah blah. And that there's actually some legitimacy to that. Like after people tend to fail to understand this, or just are ignorant of the simple facts, but gas goes bad. It's not just a battery going dead. Gas literally goes bad. And it doesn't take that long. It's like, I want to say it's as short as like 6 to 18 months or something. I can't remember the specifics, but even beyond that, an engine freezes up, and not from cold. It will, all the parts in an engine need to move and be
Extra ammunition is
moved,
always
or
welcome if
they
have
will
any.
essentially like fuse together. And so the idea that a car goes dead after 100 years of sitting there, yeah, sure. Now, the idea that nobody's making new cars, that's not that hard to believe either, because in that particular setting, you're talking about a world where people are barely scraping by, and raiders are constantly raiding them, and super mutants are out there, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think it makes sense that car manufacturing has taken a back seat in that particular world, and since no new cars exist anymore, people either have to go without or go without. You know, there isn't really a secondary option.
You got no chance.
Now, my hope for this game is that mechs will one day make a return. You know, like there will be some kind of a storyline about somebody using mechs again, and they'll use mechs again.
You're dead! You hear me?
Are you prepared to die?
You cannot beat me. Another day, another kill. Ah! Incoming!
Curse you!
You die today.
You can't hope to win.
Taking on the first is a death sentence!
Enemy sighted! You've got no idea who you're messing with!
Obviously, neither do you.
Profit is never necessarily the aim, but if there is something worth taking...
I have definitely decided on one thing in my future playthroughs. I am not going to deal with the skills as they are designed to be dealt with. I'm just going to take all the skills at the maximum levels I want them to be at. Also, I'm going to be starting at like level 1027, I think. I don't know. I haven't figured out the exact level, but it's going to be more than 100, just because. Basically, by starting at 100, it puts everything on a weirdly...
One might imagine the Freestar Collective was still producing mechs, right up until the last minute.
I mean, that's literally what they were doing. But, I'm not going to deal with how skills are progressed in this game. I'm just going to take all the skills I want at the levels I want them, and just I'm not going to worry too much about that. Leveling will not be a major factor. However, I think I have decided that I am going to play my next playthrough not being the richest person in the settled systems. So that there's more of a point to the game.
Either we press on or we turn back. Your call.
We're pressing on, but we're looting everything first. Similarly, I don't think I'm going to have all the resources available to me, blah, blah, blah. So the things that I will be playing towards is gathering money and gathering resources and stuff like that. I won't have the dream home. I have pretty much decided on that. But I think the next playthrough concept will be one of... I'm still going to have an infinite inventory, because I just can't stand... I like to loot fast and deal with inventory management off-screen. And I am one of those people that if you give me the opportunity to be over-encumbered, I'll over-encumber myself. So why not just not worry about it? That being said, I probably won't be carrying everything with me like I do now. I don't know about that aspect, but... Of course, one of the things that this game doesn't have that it could, and it's an aspect in video games that I both love and hate. This game doesn't have weapon or degradation or armor concerns. You know, you get your one armor and that's it. Now, I like that from the concept of it's nice not to have to worry about, but more so from the concept of most games don't do that aspect correctly, in my opinion. a lot of games, when they do weapon degradation, they do it to an extent where it doesn't feel good, you know, like your weapons degrade way too quickly. And you're constantly having to repair them. And I know part of that, and this is one of those weird things. So one of the reasons that they do truncated timetables in most games, like Grand Theft Auto and stuff, and connected to that is the idea of like, for example, I have to eat in this game every 45 minutes or less. And the reason I have to eat every 45 minutes or less is because, oh, well, we want you to experience a whole day's worth of time in
We can go farther this way, it seems.
no time, you know. That doesn't exactly work. I get why they do it, but I feel like at this point it's an old school way of game design, similar to how games used to have lives.
I am programmed to prioritize
And
completion of
they pretty much got rid of lives, and the reason they had lives was because they were designed to eat quarters. And once you got rid of the necessity of a game to eat somebody's quarters, then it became more about like checkpoints and saves and stuff.
We should move on, if there's nothing worth taking.
And I think similar to that, not having your game run in a real-time time frame is another aspect of old school game design that doesn't really need to be there anymore. Like, with as expansive as most games are now, we're not even looking at truncated worlds anymore. We're looking at worlds that are the same size as the real world. You know, we're not too far away from Google Maps GTA, you know, like there will be a time not too far from now where somebody just builds a game and uses the real star system as the world, you know? Yes, star system. Not just the world, the whole star system. And when you get to that kind of design, the idea of allowing a player to experience a day-night cycle and all of that stuff is great, but especially in a roleplay game like this,
Not many options other than to proceed ahead. Shall we?
Are you saying you're impatient, Andreja? Is that what you're saying to me? Because if that's what you're saying to me, too bad. Like, people can still experience a day-night cycle. Like, especially in this game. I experience a day-night cycle constantly because I am constantly sleeping and resting and waiting and fast traveling and all sorts of other stuff. So the idea of having a literal sun go over my head in a 24-minute time frame or whatever it is, I don't need that anymore. And I personally think that we are at a point in game development where we as gamers don't need that anymore. I don't think we've needed it for a number of years at this point. I think that that kind of design is passé at this point. Yet it's a holdover from the time when giving you a day-night cycle was not only to just give you a day-night cycle, but it was also a very fast day-night cycle because
You come here seeking justice? Well, what about justice for my soldiers? minutes away, minutes from winning the battle and the war when the ceasefire order came down. Now there's a debt of honor, and the people who betrayed us, the people of the Freestar Collective, are going to pay.
Blah, blah, blah.
This whole place is a testament to how devastating the war was. How determined both sides were to claim victory.
Pretty much. War never changes. I'm definitely using this mod in my future playthroughs. In fact,
How quickly can you get that done?
I think I have my mods pretty much pinned down. I am almost certain on my villainous playthrough that I will not be taking a companion with me on any quests. I might not even take a crew. I don't know. Because being a relative bad person and having to deal with a companion constantly just doesn't seem like it's going to be viable.
Always worth checking. Never know what you might find in their pockets.
Yeah, we're not technically done yet. And now, we scavenge. That's something else I kind of have to decide on in future playthroughs. How much am I going to scavenge? Like, this playthrough I'm scavenging like I always would in any of these games. But in the other playthroughs, I feel like I want to be, I don't know, more discerning? Is that the right word? I don't know. Not as scavengy. I think one of the things missing from this game is a concept that they could have used but didn't. And so they made a bunch of brands of firearms, but they didn't give any of them the feeling of this firearm is new. And by that I mean that everybody just kind of uses whatever. You know, oh sure, the first cav, because they're Freestar, they use mostly Laredo weapons, and the same thing for the Freestar Rangers and stuff like that. But that's more like a brand loyalty. And for the most part, like when you encounter Crimson Fleet or Spacers, they just use whatever, because of course they would. They wouldn't relegate themselves to a particular weapon just because of brand loyalty, because that's silly. But what they didn't do, and this is something that Fallout 4 did quite well, they didn't give a feeling of old. Like, they sort of did. You have the old Earth weapons, but like, it's... The old Earth weapons is like if modern soldiers were still running around with M1 Garands and Tommy guns, you know, which, yes, I know some do actually like those guns and utilize them, but like, there isn't the equivalent of the MP5, which is not really used anymore. It's been fully replaced by things like the UMP or the MP4 or entirely different weapon systems. Yet the MP5 is still a very prevalent gun, but it's old. It's a clearly older weapon that was used heavily a couple decades ago, for a couple decades, and that's a feeling I don't get in this game. I don't get a feeling that any of the guns that are available in this game were used for a couple decades and then not. Like, whereas they could have actually done that with Laredo, right? Like they could have said that Laredo guns haven't changed in 20 years because they're reliable, so why change them? And then they could have had a whole theming about, like, you know, why the Freestar Collective still uses them, because they're cheap. Much like the AK-47. The AK-47 hasn't changed much since 47. That's why it's called the 47. And yet, it's still being made, but it is an old gun, and there are much newer and better versions of the AK-47 out there. Within the AK range of guns itself, they have newer and better versions. And yet, I don't know, I just feel like it feels like a missing element of setting to not have weapons that feel older. And it's hard to do, for the record, because you're talking about guns that never existed. Yeah, some of them are based on guns that we currently have in circulation. And they sort of delve into that idea with the Erebon guns. Erebon? I don't remember the name of them. They're basically the Nova Blast guns. Don't think there will be one in there. Definitely is one in EM. These guns are suggested to be relatively new, but they're kind of crappy. Like, overall, I never use these things because, A, EM weapons, what's the point? Like, if you knock somebody down with any, like, the Trackers Alliance bounty hunting thing sort of made EM weapons viable as an option in the game, but for the most part, and there's better EM weapons than these. Like, almost any of the EM modified guns in the game are better than the ones that are designed to supposedly be EM weapons. And they also sort of with a gun I use quite frequently, where is it? Wouldn't be oh, yeah, there's one. The mag weapons from I can't even remember the name of the company. And that's another one. You know, they put, like, on the Combatech weapons, they put the big Combatech across the side of it, and on the Allied Arms weapons, they put the Allied Arms star, but the mag weapons don't ever have any branding on them. Name me a manufacturer of anything that doesn't put their brand somewhere on their product. Anyway, the point is, it never gives a feel like any of these guns are particularly new or particularly old, and it kind of makes them all feel about the same.
Best not to leave anything useful behind.
With the exception of they aren't, and some are completely overpowered, and if I wasn't using a mod to make them all overpowered, then there are some guns I would never use. In fact, over half the guns in this game I would never use, because of the nature of how they decided to differentiate the weapons. Like the very first gun you start with, you get rid of that thing almost immediately. There's very little reason to carry that first gun. Did I go over there? I didn't. Which is a very game designy thing to do, you know. It's oh well, the first gun you get is just a piece of junk, even though it's everybody still uses it, which doesn't even make sense. If the gun was that worthless, people wouldn't use it. Like, people would use other guns. Alright, Hull, let's confront you now.
I can't believe it. You just took on some of the best mercenaries in the Freestar Collective and cut right through them. If we'd have had more like you in the war, we could have planted our flag in New Atlantis.
Still reliving the glory days? You're pathetic.
What the hell would you know about glory? That badge gives you power under the law, but it doesn't give you the right to question what I sacrificed for the glory of the Freestar Collective. You don't know what it's like to look around and see the faces of warriors who trusted you to lead them as they die screaming. I watched brave men and women torn limb from limb by monsters. I saw mech pilots cooked alive in their cockpits as their machines burned. Those deaths didn't have to be meaningless, but spineless leaders gave up on us even when victory was within our grasp.
If victory was actually within your grasp, then the leaders wouldn't have signed the treaty that had your side say no more in the first place. And your circular logic of hurting more people to avenge your fallen soldiers doesn't even make sense.
Innocent? Nobody is innocent while they allow corrupt leaders to take control. The Freestar Collective has lost its way. The dream that we fought for died a long time ago.
Did you hear what you just said? It did die a long time ago, and you're trying to revive it like a zombie. How well does that ever work out? Look, no more stalling. You're gonna tell me everything.
You really want to know? Because you might not like the answer. Last chance, Deputy. You can walk away right now and remain blissfully ignorant, thinking you fight for a noble cause. But if you still want the truth, I'll shatter that illusion for you right now.
You're making a lot of assumptions, Hull. Whoever said I thought I was fighting for a noble cause? How do I know you'll be telling the truth anyway?
Because I can prove it. You'll see.
Well then, quit stalling. I won't ask again.
You won't have to. Not long after I started the first, I was contacted by a man who said he represented someone wealthy and influential. I refused to work for a shadow client, so we agreed to set up a meeting. Imagine my surprise when Ron Hope showed up. He offered me a lucrative contract to take possession of certain farms throughout Freestar space.
And how does the stolen ship tie into all of this?
To keep the Rangers off the Sen. Hope wanted to hit a lot of places quickly and finish whatever he was doing before word spread. We needed another ship to meet his timetable. So he gave us the intel necessary to steal one from his factory. It also let him play the victim and keep suspicion to a minimum.
And what was so special about those farms?
All I know is that after we cleared the place out, Hope was sending in some kind of machinery. Our job was to make sure nobody saw the operation.
And you saw your chance to get revenge on the Freestar Collective.
The credits were good, but yeah, getting some payback was the real reward.
And was it all worth it? Do you think you accomplished anything here?
You think I've lost? Is that it? I haven't lost. You go find Ron Hope and tell him what I've told you. Then you can deal out whatever justice you see fit. You do your job, and I get one last piece of vengeance against the Council. I'm gonna make this easy for you, Deputy. I'm gonna die the way I lived. Weapon in hand, no compromise, no fear. But first, here, take this. Use it to cut out the weakness rotting at the heart of the Freestar Collective. When the next war comes, and it will come, the Collective needs to be strong. Now my unit's waiting for me, and I'm gonna report for duty one last time. Goodbye, Deputy.
Well then. And now ask me how shocked I am, and not just because I played this before, but ask me how shocked I am in general about the fact
an opportunity to line our pockets.
that Ron Hope is involved in all of this. I won't keep you in suspense. It didn't shock me when I first learned about it the first time I played through this storyline, and it still doesn't shock me. Ron Hope being at the heart of this whole thing makes perfect sense. Now, the reason why Ron Hope was involved, well, that's pretty science fiction-y, but it's also very corporate.
At first glance, it seems we are the only ones to come through here in some time.
Yeah, with the exception that this landing pad is mostly clear. I will say the first time I played through this, I didn't specifically suspect Ron Hope. But it seemed pretty clearly obvious to me anyway that it was somebody in a position of power, or at least adjacent to. You know, they didn't make it very subtle that the various elements involved in this particular storyline would lead to somebody high up the chain. The fact that it ended up being Ron Hope was just kind of okay. You know, like if it wasn't him, it would have been someone else of a similar nature. Not to get too political, but it's also pretty sad how relevant a corrupt billionaire is, no matter what decade it is or what setting. Time to go confront some people.
We have liftoff. Hey, Dad. Want to hear a joke?
Sure, sweet pea. Yo, man can always use a laugh.
Okay. Who can jump higher than a skyscraper in New Atlantis?
We're in orbit, Captain. I don't know. Who?
Everybody! Skyscrapers can't jump!
Okay. Good one, Cora. Hey, next time you see Barrett, try it out on him.
Grav jump complete.
Welcome to the Freestar Collective. Please maintain your current course while we scan your ship.
No. Because I forgot I had stuff on my ship.
Beginning landing cycle.
Technically, it's not on my ship. It's, well, it is. I don't know how I'm going to treat contraband in my future playthroughs. On the one hand, I'd like to actually sell contraband as the bad person character, but on the other hand, you know,
Say your last goodbyes.
We're locking into orbit now.
Welcome to Freestar Space. We're gonna do a quick scan for contraband, and you could be on your way. We see.
No, no.
We're locking into
This is
orbit now.
Freestar Space. Please hold your current speed and heading while we scan you for contraband. You're good to go. All clear to land at Hopetown.
I couldn't find a scan removal mod on the creation page. So
Landing initiated. Watch your flaring.
Ahoy, Captain!
ahoy
Something you
hoy.
need?
Smugglers always like to use Hope-Tech ships to resemble legitimate transports. I wonder how the company feels about that.
Well, based on the fact that the company was literally involved in that exact thing, I'm pretty sure they think it's a great sales
Got
pitch.
We're asking everyone to take care of any leeches on their... Okay, no problem.
That's not what I want.
I'm sure you can find...
I don't want to hear any complaints.
Who's complaining?
Excuse me?
Keep an eye on your valuables. You can't protect.
I have never liked
Can I
Hope-Tech
help you?
ships.
Here for business?
Though I suppose that is hardly the point of them.
Right away.
Well, that's just not true.
I have hours of invoice.
Give me a
Certainly.
ship.
If you get the credits, we got what you need. Let me show you our inventory.
I don't need to see your inventory. I just need to get back to my ship to select it as my home ship, because for some reason this game decided As soon as you buy a ship, you must obviously want it to be your home ship immediately. Don't worry, we'll take care of that for you. We'll make sure it's your home ship as soon as you select it.
I just want to get all these approvals over with.
Out on the factory floor, eh, Ron? I can meet you out there. It's not gonna change how this goes down. Ooh, hold on.
We'd be dust except for the factory.
Well, don't you worry about a thing. I'm sure somebody else will be put in charge of this factory once everything is resolved. Oh, isn't that cute?
That's very generous, Mr. Hope.
It's well earned, Burkett. We set some ambitious quotas, and you met every one of them.
Well, I won't pretend it was easy, but everyone pulled together and we got it done.
I'll let you share the good news, whenever and however you like.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Off-worlders, nothing ever good comes from them.
Ron, I'd love to have a few
Something
words
more
with
need,
you.
Deputy? Good to see you again. Well, I've just received a report from the Marshal about your progress. He said you had a promising lead on the mercenaries who stole my ship. I trust You're here with good news?
Not good news for you.
And what's that supposed to mean, exactly?
What do you think it means? Paxton Hull told me you hired him to clear out those farms. Something you want to tell me about it?
No. And I don't care for the insinuation.
It's not an insinuation.
The disgraced war hero who went to prison, and you actually believed him?
So you're denying that you're involved.
Don't presume to question me. You know who I am.
Oh boy. Whenever somebody says, "Do you know who I am?" it's never a good sign. Hull kept your instructions to use as evidence against you. He knew we'd find him.
I see. I'm impressed, Deputy. It's clear you have a bright future ahead of you.
What's going on? What is this about, Mr. Hope?
Nothing that concerns you, Birgit. In fact, why don't you make yourself scarce?
I think I'd like to hear what the deputy has to say.
Give me all the deets before I nail you to the ground for this.
Just hear me out, and you'll see. I had a good reason for what I did. The truth is, we've been falling behind the competition. Significantly so. We needed solutions. A few years ago, I began to diversify. We started to research chemicals, fuel, those sort of things. We developed an experimental fertilizer. And it failed utterly. It wiped out entire crops. I was prepared to write the whole thing off when we made a discovery that changed everything. Turns out, our fertilizer was transforming the soil, bolstering its mineral content tenfold.
So you used unwitting farmers to transform your soil.
Mining is expensive, and so is the cost of raw materials. My mineral-enriching fertilizer solves several problems at once. The farmers provide free manual labor, and once the land is ready, we move in to extract and process the soil.
You sit on the Council of Governors. You betrayed the very people you are supposed to represent.
I wish there'd been another way. But I had to play the hand I was dealt.
Uh-huh. You destroyed lives to turn a profit.
Look, I'll level with you. We're falling behind the competition.
You said that already.
The hardworking people of this town depend on me for their livelihoods, and I won't let them down. Cutting my costs means saving their jobs.
I can't believe what I'm hearing. How could you do something so awful to innocent people, to families?
Not another word out of you, Birgit. I can take your job and more. We'll discuss this later. In any case, I suppose the gig is up. I give you my word that I'll call off the operation and return the land to its rightful owners.
And the people you were hired, muscled, killed, what about them?
You're right, of course. Something must be done. I'll set up a fund to handle funeral expenses and take care of any surviving family members. We'll do this the right way. I give you my word.
That's not enough.
You're right. Yeah, those families deserve to be compensated for
That's not what I meant.
inconvenience.
And you know it.
Well, perhaps a discount on their next purchase from Hotech.
They might not be so keen to purchase a ship built with the blood of their compatriots.
With that resolved, let's talk about...
Resolved?
As a member of the Council of Governors, I'm authorized to award you a substantial bonus. And of course, we'll both agree to forget about my little cost-cutting endeavor.
I'm sorry that you seem to think that this is... like, you're literally trying to bribe me.
Did I not make myself clear? I'm offering you a reward for a job well done. Nothing more. And with that job so capably done, we'll consider the matter closed. I'll be needing that slate from Major Hull, of course.
You're going to turn yourself in, and I'm telling the Marshal everything.
Well, let's not be too hasty, Deputy. There's something else you need to consider. I'll do what's necessary to protect my company and my employees. If you tell anyone about this, you're risking their livelihoods. Do you really want to put all these people out of work and make their families suffer?
You seem to think that I care about your opinion in all of this. I'm willing to accept some collateral damage if it makes making you pay.
I have to admit, I admire that uncompromising attitude. You've made your position clear, Deputy. Now, it's my turn. I'll make myself very plain. I won't let you jeopardize my reputation, this company, or the people who work for me. If that means you suffer an unfortunate incident at the hands of my security personnel, so be it. I'm important. You're nothing.
You're not actually threatening to attack a Freestar Ranger, are you?
You have overestimated your position, Mr. Hope.
If you refuse to come quietly, I will have to use force, and you're not going to like it.
You just threatened a member of the Council of Governors.
Former member.
On my authority, you're stripped of rank. Declared an outlaw.
I love how you think you have any authority left.
Dispose of this criminal.
What's the best you can do? I cannot wait to kill you. Did they have anything of value?
Value? Yeah. Worth? Not really. Just remember, you brought this on yourself. Burgett?
He tried to have you killed. I don't understand. Mr. Hope always seemed like such a good person. But everything he said about the farmers and hiring those mercenaries, it was so awful.
Are you all right?
I'm just a little in shock. I'm still not sure I understand what happened. A conspiracy to steal farmland? It's just so hard to believe. That's not the Ron Hope I know.
Yeah, he was a greedy bastard who put on a friendly face, just like anybody that gets to his position of power.
No, you're wrong. That's not all he was. He always looked out for us, for his employees.
So that he could earn more money. Doesn't justify what he did.
No, of course not. But there was more to him than that. He had a genuinely good side, a caring side. And now he's... You killed him.
I sure did. Sometimes justice is violent and ugly.
Is that what this was? Justice? It felt more like an ambush, followed by an execution. What happens to us now?
Well, there must be a second in command.
That would be Elana Nwankwo. She seems pretty capable. Maybe we'll be okay after all. I guess we'll have to figure things out. Find a path forward.
There are uncertain times ahead for you, but they will pass.
What she said. And right now, I only have one concern. And that's getting a book out of his office. My book now. Jackass. Give me that. And that. Okay. You don't deserve that
I would
trophy.
hate to see you imprisoned over something so trivial.
Don't worry. Nobody's gonna know. I love that you're looking out for me, Andreja, but I'm taking his trophies. It is trivial. Totally petty. I didn't need those. And yet I took them.
company only uses Hoptech ships. Never had a problem.
Just keep it holstered, and we'll get along fine.
It's a tough town, but these are good people.
Are they?
Folks from all over the Freestar Collective come here looking for work. Bye.
See, that's another one of those things. Like, how is it that the ranger on duty right here has no opinion on what just happened? Soon as I killed Ron Hope,
Workers like to play
as
hard.
soon as I went to confront Ron Hope, that ranger should have been there, like, to both defend the rangers and maybe talk me into an alternate decision, like, and at the very least, they should have had an opinion. All right, before we talk to Marshall Blake, let's talk with Sarah Morgan. Wait, why was that marked and not... She should be on the ship somewhere. Hello, Sarah.
Yeah?
You wanted
All
to
right.
talk?
Give me a moment. I don't know where to start.
Probably about the Crimson
I
Fleet.
need you to tell me what on earth possessed you to side with the Crimson Fleet and betray UC Sistef. Have you completely lost your mind? It's almost as though I don't know you anymore.
You never did know me. I don't expect you to understand.
You're goddamn right I don't understand. Don't you realize that by strengthening the Crimson Fleet, you've done irreparable damage to the United Colonies? Not to mention the fact that you've exposed the rest of the settled systems to one of its most dangerous enemies.
I thought you didn't care about the United Colonies anymore.
Don't be ridiculous. Of course I still care. Though I ended my service with the United Colonies years ago, I continue to remain vigilant as to what's going on within its borders. Anything that has a negative effect on the UC can also trigger a negative effect on Constellation.
Well, I hate to say this, and you're not gonna like it, but I don't owe you an explanation.
Like hell you don't. I'm the chair of Constellation, and if you wish to continue as one of its members, you will answer to me.
I don't have a proper answer for you, so I'm just gonna say I wanted to learn the truth about one of the settled system's greatest legends.
Oh, I see. Well, I suppose that changes everything. I can totally understand how recovering Crix's legacy completely eclipses unlocking the mysteries of the entire universe.
Well, it's too late to change what I've done.
So that's it then. Just water under the bridge to you. Is that all this is? Listen, I'm not here to tell you how to run your life. I was simply giving you some guidance from the perspective of a friend. What you choose to do with my advice is completely up to you.
What advice? You just wanted me to explain myself, which the game didn't provide a decent explanation of. Just, I did it because I wanted to? And then it will be water under the bridge, because that's the way the game works. And let's go see what Sam has to say about my little venture. Get up, Sam. Let's talk this through. You and me, right now, right here.
What the hell? With Crix's legacy, I thought for sure you were going to turn it over to SysDef. Instead, delivering an insane fortune to the Crimson Fleet? Why'd you help them?
Well, first of all, it wasn't an insane fortune. I mean, my cut, which was decent, was only 250,000 credits. That's barely enough to get a nice ship. I don't have to explain myself to you. The end. But realistically, being in the Crimson Fleet's good graces will help us out down the line.
Really? And that's worth it to you? With all those damn credits, the fleet is going to be a literal plague for years. Hell, decades. Anyone that travels space is going to be in danger. That includes people like Sarah, Barrett, the whole gang. You know, our people. Did you even think about that?
I've pretty much said everything I'm going to say about this.
So you're just washing your hands of this? Not that damned easy.
Yeah, it is.
I've done things I'm not proud of, but I've never done anything like this. Till now. I just can't stand to look at you right now.
Aww. Guess what? You'll get over it. Who left the bathroom door open? Not only will you get over it, but the very next time I talk to you about anything, you're going to be all like, "Hey, partner, how you doing?" or whatever your usual sentiment is. Like none of it ever mattered. Oh, wouldn't it be great if it really did matter, though? Like, what if you do that mission and you side with the Crimson Fleet and you get kicked out of Constellation? They could have had a whole sequence of events where you have to follow the whole, like, rest of the Constellation mission on your own, and you come into conflict with Constellation. Oh, that would have been great. Alright, let's go ahead and talk to Marshall Blake. I can't remember if I talked to Barrett about the pirates. I don't think I did, but it also doesn't have the option for me to talk to him because he's still currently a part of... Hold on. Let me change that. There it is.
Ready here. Cora's good too. We're in orbit. What next?
Next, we're going to go drop off our contraband and talk to Barrett.
Board's all green. Successful jump. Landing site's clear. All green here.
I'm up for a little adventure.
Need something?
What'd I tell you? No repercussions.
Hello, love. Leaving so soon.
We both are.
If you need to harvest any organic materials, now would be the time.
Hey Barrett, would you like to talk to me about pirates? I bet you would.
Let's get out there and do something new today, shall we? Crimson Fleet ought to be pretty happy right about now. Must have been hard to decide what to do with all those credits. Are you satisfied with how it all turned out?
What would you have done?
Oh, who cares what I would have done? It isn't about me. I'm just curious about your reasoning, that's all.
What if I said I just wanted to kick the anthill over?
Well, you certainly did that. The fleet now has the funding to do the harm they've always wanted. Everything is going to be more dangerous out there for everybody, including us.
We need the fleet as allies.
We need murderers and thieves as allies? What are you planning to do next? If that's the road you're taking us down, I'm not sure I can stomach it. I'm just thinking about all the people that this is going to impact out there. Regular, normal folk who just want to have a safe life. Space is already so unforgiving, so hostile to life. Humans are still so delicate out here. And now it's just that much harder for no good reason.
Oh well. That's ironically the worst. Ironically? That's the wrong word. I use that too often. That is the worst consequence of siding with Crimson Fleet in this game, is getting a stern talking to from Mom and Dad. AKA the 4 members of Constellation who give a shit about everything. I didn't grab it. Yeah, I think that's the final determination right there. I'm not going to collect any contraband in future playthroughs. It's just not worth the hassle of forgetting about the hassle of it all.
Need a hand?
One of the issues I actually have with the whole Crimson Fleet stuff storyline is that you don't get the option to tell the truth. And the truth is that from a resource management perspective, on a purely logistical level, siding with the Crimson Fleet has more benefit than siding with SysDef. And they talk about, oh, it has so many issues for us too. Well, yeah, in theory it does, but only in theory, because one, none of you go out and do anything unless it's with me, and two, in theory, the Crimson Fleet would be leaving Constellation alone, because I'm a high-ranking member of the Crimson Fleet now, and I would literally just tell them, leave Constellation alone, or you answer to me. And they don't present it that way in this game, and yeah, sure, realistically, yes, I have given the Crimson Fleet an advantage. But based on logistical realities, without any other way of knowing what those realities are, like going only by what I'm capable of seeing in here, and presuming that Delgado and Neva are going to take the largest cut, and a couple of the other pirates are going to take a larger cut as well. And I'll even go so far as to say they took a full 150% more than what I got. So let's say they each took 1 million credits. Okay, sure. 1 million credits is a lot. But I still say that even if those few got 1 million credits, and I'm in the, let's say, the second tier, they're in the top tier. I'm in the second tier that are getting a decent amount of credits out of the whole thing. 250,000 credits is what I got out of it. And let's say 20 or 30 other captains, and that's being generous, got that 250,000, roughly the same amount as I did credits, which more than likely I got way more than even that. But in terms of, like, I got 250,000 and the next person below me is probably going to get like 100,000. But let's presume that 20 or 30 other captains get roughly the same amount as I did, and maybe half a dozen got, let's say, 1 million. The rest are going to get, because there's a lot of Crimson Fleet out there already. It's not like they present it as though the Crimson Fleet is suddenly going to grow by 10 times its size, and they're going to be better equipped, and blah, 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 blah. But the reality is, with the amount of money that is going to be disseminated from the overall coffers, it's not going to have that much of an impact overall. And yes, I'm not saying it's having no impact. It's going to have a theoretical impact, more so because SysDef now is disbanded, okay? More so because SysDef is disbanded than because the Crimson Fleet is any more powerful, but let's look at this from another perspective. The Trackers Alliance, a few, small members of the Trackers Alliance, were looking at what's it called? The Elios Retreat or Elios Retreat. They were looking at the Elios Retreat as a potentially bad thing because, oh no, we'll have less bounties to go after. What did I just do if not balance the concept of the Elios Retreat and the Crimson Fleet? And the game never gives me that option to go down that road. Like, it never even tries to connect the two, which it should. That's a great connection. Why'd you sign with the Crimson Fleet? Well, hey, you know the Elios Retreat and the Trackers Alliance people that were doing the blah, 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 blah? Well, I'm balancing the scales so that some people don't feel like they're going to have less of a job to do. And the reality is they're still going to have less of a job to do because overall, the Crimson Fleet is not going to benefit as much as everybody seems to treat it in the game. They're treating it like the Crimson Fleet just got 400 trillion credits.
Let's see what's out there.
For each captain. Whereas the reality is the spread is going to be much more uneven. It's going to be much more small. I would guess that most of the Crimson Fleet captains, and keep in mind, each of those captains that gets whatever money they're getting, they have to spread it among their crew as well. So as you dwindle down each individual person's total number of credits, you know, Delgado's going to come out ahead because I don't think he actually pirates anymore. He just orders all the other pirates around, which, you know, he's the king. He's at the top. Of course that's what he does. But theoretically, the other ones still go out there and do their little missions. I don't. I never take the Crimson Fleet missions because all they are is killing people and stealing stuff and actual piracy, and I don't want to do that.
Another jump down. Take that, Dad.
And there's also, and you could definitely argue that the greater...
Welcome to Freestar Space. We're gonna do a quick scan for contraband and...
The greater concept of what I did defeats the idea of this theory, but...
And that's it. Enjoy that Aquila City air.
How many more pirates can I kill with the act of surprise versus taking them on, like, anyway. Note, I'm not trying to justify my actions. Siding with the Crimson Fleet is totally the wrong choice if you're going with the more, quote, moral option and all of that stuff. And yeah, if I were in this universe, I would never side with the Crimson Fleet. Because I wouldn't look at it from a pure perspective of logistical benefits. I would look at it from, Crimson Fleet is awful. Yeah, I want to help Systef take them down.
Landing commencing.
But I just don't think that the way the game presents it versus the way that it's written match up well. Hey, Sam, you still sore about things?
I don't know about you, but a fella could do a lot worse in Constellation.
You don't have any bad thoughts about the whole Crimson Fleet thing anymore? Would you like to give me something?
You read my mind. Here.
This is my point. Like, both Sarah and Sam, they're just like, do. Got anything for me, Sarah?
I should start charging for my services.
I'm gonna be a little flirt with you again. Okay. Like nothing happened.
These people claim to be independent, yet they still crowd together behind walls.
Well, to be fair, and I think I've said this before, everybody in society crowds together. Though the irony is that the Freestar Collective and the United Colonies are almost not different at all. It's like the difference between a Democrat and a Republican or any political party. They're all basically the same at the highest levels and the lowest levels and the mid levels. It's just a feeling one gets at the end of the day. It's, oh well, I prefer. It's a viewpoint.
Good to see you. You should try Phil Burns' beer.
Marshall?
It's brewed in the city.
Good to see you back safe, Deputy. What's the word on the mech factory? Were the mercenaries hiding out there?
You haven't heard. Yeah, it's more like a mass grave now.
Well, don't get too used to killing. For a ranger, that's always a last resort. Did you find out why the First was taking over farms?
Ron Hope hired the First to grab farmland.
What? Ron Hope? That's one hell of an accusation, Deputy.
Are you really that surprised? Hope's always had a reputation as a man who'd do anything to succeed.
He's on the damn council, Emma.
And that means
so he can make
something?
laws favorable to his business interests. Sure, he's known to look after his people, but do you really think he gives a damn about some farmers on Montara Luna?
Did Hope explain his motives at all?
He said he supplied the farms with an experimental fertilizer which boosted the mineral content but killed the crops. Basically, he was using them for free labor.
That has a familiar ring to it.
I recall hearing about some Hope Tech initiative to help farmers. At the time, I just figured it was a PR stunt. Seems a little more sinister now.
Please, tell me you've got some evidence to back up these extraordinary claims.
These are Hope's instructions to Paxton Hall.
All right, let's see what you've got. Interesting. Yeah, this is pretty damning. Especially this last bit about destroying the slate. And you confronted Hope about this?
You might say that. He tried to have me killed. It was his last mistake.
You almost sound pleased with yourself. Well, you shouldn't be. This is going to send shockwaves throughout the Freestar Collective. If the people can't trust their leaders, anarchy could follow.
Have a little faith, Daniel. We're not the United Colonies. One bad apple won't spoil the whole damn barrel.
Easy for you to say. You ain't the marshal.
Not yet, but you ain't gonna live forever, old man.
While we've got you here, there's one last piece of business to take care of. Emma, would you please?
With pleasure, Marshal. When you first joined us, I told you that you'd undergo an evaluation process. There's one thing left to do. A simple question. Do you feel ready to wear the badge of a full-fledged Freestar Ranger?
Why not? I'm also in the Vanguard. I've basically been ready since the start.
In that case, I won't hold you back any longer. Marshal, I approve the deputy for advancement to the rank of Ranger.
Thank you, Ranger Wilcox. In your time serving as a deputy, you've shown exceptional courage, fearless tenacity, and a high regard for the safety of our citizens. By the authority granted to me by the Council of Governors,
-1,
I hereby promote you to the rank of Ranger.
Too soon?
Here's your badge. Wear it with pride. But don't forget the solemn responsibility it represents.
Well done.
Thanks, babe. Thanks for having faith in me.
You've shown that faith was well placed. Let's hear it for our new Ranger.
Well done. We got some UC drone.
Great job, Ranger!
I know that that was just a security guard random piece of dialogue that he spouted, but that was perfectly timed. While everybody else is going, woo, congratulations, this one security guard says, I hope you're not just some UC drone. I love it.
Got to admit, I'm impressed how fast you made full Ranger. Well, hey there.
And what do you do?
Right now, not much of anything. Doc says I need a rest. Meanwhile, I've been trying to make myself useful, reading dispatches and reports and such. That way, when I'm cleared for field duty, I'll know the lay of the land.
Well, alrighty then.
More missions on the board. They never, ever end. You've been busy. So busy that another crime boss is scrambling. And there's a big old bounty on this one. I assume you're in.
Absolutely. Tell me who and where.
But of course. I have a feeling crossing you will be their last mistake. Good luck.
Interesting.
Hiya.
I didn't know there was any more to that particular mission. Ooh, let's go inform SSNN. La 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 la. Okay. Yeah, let's go do that. By the way, the Freestar ship that you get out of doing the Rangers is pretty neat looking. Now, as for power and weapons and all of that, I think all of them are underpowered, but you can always upgrade. And speaking of the Crimson Fleet again, that's my point. If you were to buy a Crimson Fleet ship, base level, none of the extras, that alone would cost you anywhere between 150 to 500,000 credits. Now, if you want to upgrade it, that's going to cost you another 100,000
Hey,
to
what
or
can I do
more.
for you?
So
I'm sure you can find something you'll like.
they're going to go through that money real fast. Okay, here you go. A Watchdog 4. This is actually one of the better baseline versions of this ship, which, for the record, the Crimson Fleet use this ship a lot. I can't remember what they call it. Something ghostly. They're all like Ghost and Wraith and Spectre and all that crap. This ship right here, it's not that great. I mean, it only has shields of 810. It has a limited crew capacity. It does have a crew capacity, which is decent. Its reactor, as you can see, is crap at 29. But that's one of the better reactors for the size. grav jump range really isn't an issue no matter what ship you have. Its lasers are pitiful. It has ballistic weapons, which, honestly, ballistic weapons on a ship? No. You want particle weapons. Missiles are good, though you're better off with a turreted particle weapon or just more particle weapons. This ship costs 222,000 credits. For this piece of junk. And you're trying to tell me that at the cost of most of these ships, the Crimson Fleet captains that are getting definitely less than 100,000 credits, I would imagine most of those ship captains are getting no more than like 20,000, 30,000 at the topmost end. They're not getting 100,000. Like only a couple dozen of the captains are getting a couple 100,000.
Okay, no
like
problem.
Me. An extremely small handful are getting way more than that, and then the rest, potentially hundreds of captains, their share, and they're probably not even being given their share. They're probably being told, well, go out and do missions and we'll give you bonuses as incentive to go out and pirate. And then they're not being given the full bonus because, of course, that would defeat the purpose of having them go out and do all those missions, because the point of having them go out and do those missions is that some of that money gets filtered back to the top. Like I said, it isn't as bad as people say it is. Alrighty, let's put people back on the ship. I do wish that it would, rather than just unassigning people, period, I wish it would assign them to an appropriate post. Or, how about this? Have an option to auto-assign people to an appropriate post based on skill levels and maybe some sort of internal tagging.
Always a satisfying moment to return to your ship.
To just say, this...
I found something for you. Wait till you see what
The name my pack's got your name on it, Cap. You looking for something?
Out of my way.
Yes?
Yeah, unfortunately that NPCs are better mod didn't work out as well as it could have. It doesn't push people out of the way that much faster. So, meh.
And we're off. Smooth as glass.
Porco, that room of yours better be clean next time I go in there.
Oh.
Orbital insertion completed.
Can I look at my ships from that?
I'll get...
Be one of the... Yeah, I can. Okay, good. these are the ones that I just bought, and one of them will be... There it is! The Star Eagle. This is the ship you get out of completing the Freestar Ranger mission. Pretty cool looking. Definitely have to replace the weapon systems and everything, like any ship that you get. Replace the grav drives, replace the reactor, replace the weapon systems. Probably replace the engines, because they almost always put in the lesser variant of whatever engine is in there. Definitely replace the shields. But otherwise, replace those fuel tanks. Those are awful fuel tanks. Replace the cargo hold. But yeah, otherwise, it's a decent ship. A couple of things. Could probably increase the crew. I don't know what exactly the HAB modules are in this ship. It looks like... Yeah, I would definitely replace a couple of things. Yeah, they put in a couple of very inefficient HAB module design. That's probably an engine room, and then a companion crossway or storage. That's more than likely a mess hall up top. Probably a captain's quarters somewhere. Then they have another companionway that could be replaced by almost anything up top there. I would say a control room, but with a crew of only 5, they probably only have like a computer room or something in there. But either way, you know, replace a few HABs, upgrade all the weapons and shields and reactor and you know, do the work to turn it into an even better ship, and this is a pretty decent ship. Like, you don't have to change it much for it to be a decent looking ship. Keep the profile. You might want to change the color, but that's an individual thing.
Get to it, Dad. I promise.
This ain't my getting around to it tone. You understand? Fine, okay. I'm going.
Or, you know, build the Kepler S and turn it into this thing. Oh, yeah. I will say one thing this playthrough has modified
you are entering United Colony space.
for my usual is
and prepare to be scanned.
I still generally like a larger ship than what a lot of the defaults are, but maybe not as large as what I usually make. I've been doing some design philosophy things around basically just taking the general profile of the ship as pre-built and only altering it enough to fit a few more things in. Now on the smaller ships, that can be, I mean, you kind of have to make them bigger.
Good to go for landing.
I would say this ship size is about right. I would say that you, generally speaking, don't need more than 8 passenger space.
Hey.
And you usually...
Hello there.
You definitely don't need more than 8 crew space because, you know, your crew capacity is limited by the game to
Do you have
8.
a favorite restaurant here? Mine is currently Whetstone, but it changes.
Really? Well, why don't we stop at the Whetstone? Oh, I love the spaceports in this game. I love them. The one way they could have made this game better is had the spaceports be even more active than they already are.
You will be scanned as you enter the city. Please keep moving. Okay, no bounty. You're clear.
I mean, we're going to be stopping right by the Whetstone. They definitely need to add options for, quote, going on dates. Where you do a whole cutscene and like, you know, literally do some kind of an activity, whether it's you that selects the activity or your companion that selects it. Like, it doesn't have to be super complicated, you know?
I think I got them. What do you call them?
Go to a restaurant, eat, have a conversation. They added a date-like conversation with that Thanksgiving mission that they added. So just expand on that a little bit and have it be associated with your actual companion/partner.
If you have a news story for me, I'm very happy to pay your fee.
Oh, I have a news story.
My source is back. Here to report anything else?
What about the death of Ron Hope? Really, Andreja? Really? Alright.
What a sordid mess. We've got some other sources we've been interviewing, but I'd love to get your take on the record. So there was a mercenary company, the First, and they were involved in taking farmlands from Freestar Collective families. Extortion, death threats, murder, all of it. Is that right?
Who's your other source? Burgett from HopeTech?
Not going to say. I will never, ever give up my source. If anybody asks about you, they get the same answer.
Well, your other source got it right.
Good to know. So all of that? Terrible. But Ron Hope, the Ron Hope, was involved with it at the highest level. All of that suffering was a plot to save HopeTech from going under using the side effects of a fertilizer he developed. Let me be blunt. The other sources say you killed Ron Hope. Is that correct?
I only killed him after he tried bribing me, and worse, and then tried to kill me.
And all that money didn't help in the end. After all of that, the future of HopeTech is an open question. Their stock has already taken a beating. Not sure if it's going to go into freefall. Any comment?
Their stock will recover. Despite what Ron Hope did, HopeTech is still a company that is large enough that it'll weather this storm.
For what it's worth, I'm rooting for them too. Thanks. If you listen to the news, you'll definitely hear this. And, maybe try not to ice any more CEOs. Just a thought.
Yeah. All depends on the CEO and the mission that I take. Yeah, it would be super nice to be able to go to a place like the Whetstone or the Dawn's Roost or Aggie's in Aquila City or whatever with your current partner, talk to the person and say,
Welcome to
"Hi,
Whetstone."
we'd like a seat," and then they would say something to the effect of, "Pick any seat you want," and then you would either follow your partner who would already have picked a seat, and there would be one that's predetermined, of course, or you pick a seat, and then you sit down and you have a little date, and it doesn't even have to take that long. Similar to the Thanksgiving quest, you could just have it be like, "Oh, it's so nice that we get to have a little time off," or blah 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 blah. You know, just fill in the gaps with typical romance option dialogue choices, and have a date. Or like go to the waterfall promenade and just stare out at the waterfall and talk about basically the same crap you would talk about at the restaurant. Or go to, I don't know, some pretty location. And they could even add a few locations into the game to expand on the concept of dating, like a movie theater where you don't pay any attention to the movie and you don't even get to see the movie. have the camera locked in a position where you don't get to see the movie that's playing, and all you get to see is your partner during the movie that's playing, and you have a little very quiet conversation. It's just the two of you, blah blah blah. What other locations could you go to? I mean, they have parks in this game. You could go hunting with your partner. Maybe a specific partner would not care for hunting, but you could go out into the wilderness and go hunt some creature, and after you kill it, have some kind of a weird hunting date conversation related to the fact that you just went on a hunt with your preferred partner. There's options. Or there should be options. Start of the game, Aquila City. That happens through normal progression, just whenever you get to Aquila City. That only happens if you go through the Vanguard. That happens if you go through the Ranger, and that happens if you go through Crimson Fleet. Interestingly, I did this before I did that. Now, I wonder what causes the order that these are in, because that would be an interesting way to potentially look at how you do them in the game if they are in a set arrangement. Because I'm trying to think. No, I definitely started the Crimson Fleet before I even entered Aquila City, because I did all of the quests, started as many quests as possible in New Atlantis, which also started that quest. Because I did all the Vanguard related stuff. Or did I actually start? Because, well, no, yeah, because that's all related. Well, no, because the Vanguard quest, I don't know. It's interesting. I forgot to do that. I think I might actually have all of these now. Let's see. I've got Hong Kong and Osaka. I'd have to look at one of my other saves where I have all of these missions available. But I want to say this is all of them now. Oh, I wish this quest wasn't bugged. I don't know what causes it to bug either, because I've had it bug on multiple saves. All right. We are not going to do this mission right this second. I know I've been streaming a little bit less the last few days, but well,
You will be scanned as you enter the city.
it is the holidays. Any new ships?
Anything? Got anything you need to offload? Trade authorities.
Ships.
I'm sure you can find something.
Skip. 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 Thank you. I have to sell some of these probably. Talk with Sam Coe. Oh, do people have opinions on the whole, Yep. I bet people have opinions on, how things went down with Ron Hope.
Any adventure you can fly away from. If you are free soon, could we talk? My favorite person.
Let me talk to Sarah
What
first.
can I help you with? Ron Hope was a real piece of work, wasn't he?
I have not given him a second thought.
Really? How could you let that go from your mind? He held innocent people with little regard, treating their lives like numbers on a balance sheet. It's an absolute disgrace.
I'm basically just glad it's over.
Yes, at least the situation's been resolved. Letting him off the hook would have been a terrible injustice.
Given what I've done, I'm frankly surprised that you approve.
Of course I approve. Had I been in your shoes, I would have done exactly the same thing. You made the right decision. I'm proud of you.
I only hope those folks who are going to lose their jobs at Hope Tech will understand.
Some of them will, and some of them won't. What happens to them isn't your fault. It's Ron Hope's. Well, I think I've lectured you enough. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me.
This is not the right...
I hope Cora doesn't get too much underfoot. The Freestar Rangers. You did their dirty work and then some. So how'd you feel wearing the badge?
That's a loaded question, the way you put it.
Yeah, on the outside, the videos make it all look so straightforward. But actually doing the job is anything but. Me, I never cared much for being a ranger. Too many of them try to force the world to be only black and white when it's anything but. Take Ron Hope. I mean, the guy's a legend. Before him, Polvo was a desperate, depressing place. Everything he did was to keep his people employed, to keep Hope Tech standing in a backstabbing world of megacorp politics.
I think it was all about power and greed with him.
I really hope you're wrong. But you probably aren't. Tough call on what to do with Ron Hope. Taking his hush money wouldn't have set right with me. But I wonder what's going to happen to Hopetown without him.
Well, hopefully the company pulls through this.
Fingers crossed. As much fun as it is being a ranger, I hope you can start focusing on constellation business. There's plenty of mysteries left in the good old Milky Way to discover.
Yep. Okay. I'm actually a little bit confused here. Okay, Drache. Let's talk.
Your investigation with the Freestar Rangers has come to an end. Are you satisfied with the results?
Honestly, yes. Basically a bad scene all around. No one is going to be satisfied.
I suppose not. This Ron Hope, supposedly a man of the people, was more concerned with profit than lives. He was not the first, and certainly will not be the last.
Are you surprised by him?
Surprised? No. Just disappointed. Another who chose greed over all else. At least he will no longer be able to prey on others. I am unsure that death was preferable to justice. But at least the situation is over, and there is no question who was to blame.
I think he got exactly what he deserved.
Fair enough. I will certainly not miss him. And now you can consider yourself a ranger in full.
The Rangers are lucky to have me.
I agree. Though perhaps you should not share that sentiment with them. True as it may be, it does not sound very humble. Shall we find some other adventure to occupy us now?
You bet. And just so that I can get it off the table if it's not already on there. And it's not. Not that I'm gonna go do it right away. Oh! That's why I didn't recognize the ship I'm on. I'm not on the right ship. Oh,
the city certainly
what
projects a powerful image for the United Colonies.
I forgot, because it's stupid that it changes your home ship when you buy a new ship. So I forgot. I have to go in and say,
okay, no problem.
Give me back my other ship. I'll be honest, you can make it through this whole game without buying a single ship. You get the Frontier. You maybe modify it a little bit. If you don't do kid stuff, you won't get the Wanderwell, but the Wanderwell is not really worth it anyway. But just like, you get things like the Razor Leaf or Razor Crest or whatever. You get the Ranger ship. You get the Kepler when you do this quest. And honestly, the Kepler's a pretty decent ship on its own, you know. And I mean, you get probably half a dozen ships on a regular playthrough. So, yeah. Wrong one. That one, please. Thank you. Okay. Since we have to do this anyway, let's go ahead and go in here and reassign almost everyone except unassign Barrett for a half a second. Get that quest to activate. Then go reassign him to... You know what? Let's reassign him to Beautiful Snowflake. Yeah, I know. I'm malnourished. No balance there. Just, oh, you're fed or you're malnourished. That's another one of those. I've said it before, but come on. You don't go from fed to malnourished. You go from fed to hungry. It should go from here's your bonus for being fed to here's nothing for being hungry to here's a
got your name on it,
oh my word to here's your what do you call it? Here's your penalty for being malnourished. All right. Next time, we will be going to do some more expansion content.
Liftoff looks good. All systems
At least it's free expansion content. I think. No, yeah. Yeah, I know it's free. Because I didn't pay for it. We'll see how the Doom universe integrates with this.
Nothing like hitting orbit.
It is my opinion that if they did this whole Starfield thing right, they would start introducing I wouldn't say Skyrim or any of Tamriel, but like it would be easy to integrate both the Quakeverse, the Doomverse, and the Fallout universe into this game as not just a fun little aside, but as actual parts of lore. But we'll have to wait on that until next time, because right now I'm gonna call it for tonight, and I'm gonna say thank you for watching, and I hope you decide to return. Until next time, I'll see you in the stars.